welcome to another episode of Reviews on the Couch, where we discuss movies, how they made us feel, and lessons we can pick from them. My name is Elsie Godwin. If this is your first time of visiting this YouTube channel, kindly subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below, the just red subscribe button, and also hit the bell button so you get notified each time there is a new content. Thank you. On this episode, we're discussing a 2020 Cameroonian drama film titled The Fisherman's Diary. The film was Cameroon's submission to the 93rd Academy Awards for the category of International Feature Film. It had 9 nominations at 2020's AMAA in categories including Best Actor, Best Director, and Best Cinematography. The Fisherman's Diary was also nominated Best Feature Film at the 2020 Paris Art and Movie Awards. It follows the story of a young girl who harbors dreams of a formal education, inspired by Malala. But standing in the way of this 12-year-old is the patriarchal agent of her father and his brother, who are bent on making sure that does not happen. The Fisherman's Diary features actors like Ramsey Noah, Ndama Damaris, Oyama Laura, and others. It's currently available on Netflix. Joining me on Reviews on the Couch to discuss how this movie made us feel is Olu Yomi Osasanya. Olu is a creative writer and director. And for the second time on this show, the one and only Moji Delano will be joining us. She is a blogger, a media entrepreneur, and the owner of ScentHQ.
Thank you guys so much for joining me on Reviews on the Couch. Thank you, Olu. Thank you, Moji. So we're discussing, like I said, The Fisherman's Diary, and personally, I enjoyed watching it. It's a slow-paced movie, but it's quite enjoyable. So I'll be starting with Olu, and for record purpose, this is the second time I'm having Moji on the show, and I think she's the second person that has been on the show twice now. So thank you. So Olu, how did it make you feel? What was the journey like for you?
I think it was an interesting movie. I really liked how it unfolded. In contrast to Nigerian movies, it was kind of a slow-paced film. The way it built up, and spent a lot of time on character building and basically introducing the characters, their routine, their lives. I liked it overall. I thought the cinematography was great. I thought the directing was great. I thought the setting of the mood of the whole film was great, and how it's unfolded, the I say naturalistic feel of the film, and showing how a lot of things across Africa are very, very similar lifestyles. As if not for the language, it's kind of easy to assume that it took place sometime somewhere in southwestern Nigeria. So I think it was a good film. I think I like the fact that it's getting another part of African cinema that a lot of us are not really usually exposed to. So overall, I liked what the film went for. I like how it was executed.
I like how you touched on the language. They call the language, I mean, on Netflix, I'm seeing it called Kamato or Kemato. I don't know. But for me, I think it sounded like a different kind of pidgin English. And it's interesting because while I was reading to understand what they were saying properly, I was also listening to them. And I think I could understand them without having to read the, what's it called now, the subtitles and all. So, Moji, what do you think about the movie and how did the journey make you feel?
It was a very emotional one for me. I really liked it. I mean, I have 1 or 2 questions, but generally I liked it because it touches on a topic that I'm very passionate about, and that's girl-child education. And to see that, because the movie used, the main character in the movie was inspired by Malala, and Malala is just 24 years old. And, to see that even up to date, there's still there's still many cases of, girls not being able to go to school for whatever reason. It's really heartbreaking to realize, and this movie is a reminder of that. So I cried. I can't remember last time I cried while seeing a movie, and I cried while seeing this movie. And I thought that it was a great movie overall. It had its lapses here and there, but it was said earlier, the cinematography is amazing. I absolutely love the cinematography. The attention to detail was there. They really went deep to show us, the fisherman lifestyle, and I absolutely love that. So generally, yes, it was a great movie, and I enjoyed watching it.
Okay, I'll definitely love us to come back to the two questions you have. I'm sure it'll be very interesting. But let's quickly touch on the acting, the interpretation of the roles. I think it was really natural. Before we came on, I was talking to Olu about how I felt, or I'm still feeling, because I'm still in the process of watching the movie. The movie that has our child comedian Emanuela on it, Survive or Die, is available on YouTube and also available on Amazon Prime. And I haven't been able to really finish it. I think I'm still around 20 to 30 minutes of the movie. I, as much as I appreciate what they were trying to do and the story they were trying to tell in terms of illegal immigration and what could be, I felt like the acting wasn't natural, right? Now for this one, I think everything felt seamless. It felt like everybody sat into their role. The girl that was acting Ekah, that's the main character in the movie, or one of the main characters in the movie, was just super amazing, and this is how it made me feel. So you are a movie person, you're a creative director and all that, Olu. How would you rate their performances and the cast if you have to take them one after the other? What do you think about it?
Well, I thought the lead was very good. I liked. I wasn't really expecting her to be the lead, but by the time from the first scene of her first scene, it showed that she could do a lot with silence. And I think that's one of the greatest strengths of an actor. When an actor is able to do something, is able to be in the moment and not reliant on movement or dialogue to convey their emotions, and not necessarily even through tears, because that seems to be the go-to thing for a lot of people. Um, Her expressions during silence, you could always feel her emotions when she's listening to the other actor, and that's another great thing for actors. Actors are now to listen and still be in the scene, not just waiting to respond with their own lines. And the father too was able to was had that ability. Most of the characters had that ability to listen and just be in the moment and not about the shouting or delivering their lines. And even the guy that played the father, I believe he's also one of the producers, if not the main producer of the film. So I enjoyed the acting, and I like the fact that for me generally I like to see a lot more films like that from Nigeria, not necessarily in the socio-economic setting, but that kind of tone, the overall tone of the film and the overall vibe of the film, where it's not about comedy or laughter or escapism, but tackling real issues, tackling the general execution of the film, like I mentioned, the cinematography was not about gloss or glamour, and the cinematography reflected the world of those characters and their realities, especially when you see them in their residence where they don't have electrical lights, it's just lamps and other little things. And the lighting was very naturalistic to
Yeah.
reflect that world where not everything is lit. Sometimes the faces are half cast, sometimes there's darkness in corners. So I like that the fact that something from Africa is out there in the world like that. And I
I
hope
think they
that
paid. I think they
people will have
paid
the courage.
attention to details a lot.
Yes. So I hope a
I
lot of
think
people
they
in Nigeria
did.
will have the courage to go and tell those type of stories and not feel they need to follow any trend to be able to make
Mm.
a film that can sell,
Yep.
a film
And
that
I
can
know
help.
we have a lot of stories to tell in Nigeria. The
Many.
movie, while watching it, also reminded me of what Stephanie Linus did with Dry. I think this was a better execution, but it's
Absolutely.
of the same standard. Wanting to at least tell a story and draw attention to the issues on ground. Like you said initially, it also took me back to what is attainable in the South now. I don't see a lot of people telling the stories of the South people.
Yeah.
I think the Igbos are doing a bit in telling their own stories, but the South, the riverine areas, I think a lot can be told from the angle. And I, like you said, I hope that they can really pick it up and do something. But bringing it back now to Moji, I want to hear the 2 questions you have. And if you want to touch on the casting as well, you can do that before you go into your 2 questions.
Okay, so like Olu said, I thought that the acting was good as well. He put it succinctly when he said that the lead actress, I think her name is Fit Fido, was able to do justice to the role without saying too much because she wasn't a talker per se. It was more of her emotions, more of her facial expressions, that told more of the story than even the things that she said. I thought that was brilliant. I would say that the only person that I didn't really feel that I thought was a bit not natural was our friend. In the movie, there was another schoolgirl in the movie that I thought that the acting was,
Absolutely.
yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't natural. But otherwise, I thought that they did exceptionally well. I mean, the lead character, the lead role, Adad, who, like Olu also said, is the producer of the movie, uh, was exceptional. It's been a simple thing. He clearly was a simple man who was also somewhat stupid, but he did a good job because it was very believable. I was very upset with his character, and I realized that that was the whole idea. He delivered so well that he was able to evoke that kind of emotion from me. So I thought that was brilliant as well in terms of the casting. So about the questions, I thought that there were a lot of untied ends or ropes in the movie. First of all, we see a man who is bitter because of what he claims education did to his wife. Okay, so what was the story? We only know that his wife was sick and she died of the illness that was linked to education. But what was the story? We're never told the story. We just know that, okay, maybe at some point their relationship went sour. How did she come back? We don't know. There was no continuity with that. Also, at the point in the movie when she got married, or she was married off rather, she was married off, and then she was abused and raped by her said husband. We see a part in the movie where she was urinating involuntarily. For me, that's
Yeah, and that looked like a fistula case that wasn't
exactly.
expanded.
So
Yeah.
exactly. So what happened? How did she overcome that? How did was she healed of the VVF, or what exactly happened with the whole fistula situation, or what was the if there wasn't a fistula situation, what was the significance of that thing? I thought that was also a very interesting question that was never answered. Also, we see a place where, because at the point I started thinking that the movie was going to end as a tragedy, and that was even very upsetting for me. But then I thought, okay, this is still a good story. Not every story has an happy ending. I mean, it's based on true life events, but what happened to her when she tried to commit suicide? We didn't see anything. The next thing we saw was, she was at it is the brain box competition or whatever the competition. How did he get to that point? I think that they should have done a
Mm-hmm.
better job, because the movie was long. So I think that they should have done a better job in telling those stories within that time frame. I mean, explaining those things, or at least shedding more light and giving more detail so that there's more clarity. So they left quite a number of stones unturned, and we didn't really. So I, except of course, that was the whole idea of the producers, for us to fill in the gaps in our head. But then again, I think that good storytelling should be clear, give us clarity. This is based on a true life story. So yeah, those were one of the 2 questions that I had that I thought that they could have done better in terms of expatiating on what happened in those places.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And also, I can't remember is it the principal of the school now? The character acted by Ramsey Noah.
Yeah,
I don't know why he decided to sit back to also just allow the teacher to be the one communicating with
Mm.
these men when they are your
yeah,
gender. Didn't you think that
exactly.
they would listen to you better
More,
in terms
yeah,
of understanding why this child should be able to go to school? So
yeah,
I didn't like
yeah,
that character and how it was played. But then it's probably a mirror of, I mean, it's not probably, it is really a mirror of what we see in the society, because we have this communication or conversation regarding some feminists that we think are harsh in their method of passing their message, and we have other feminists who would come out to tell you we need to also convince these men to understand that we need them to move forward. We need them to be able
yeah,
to stand in gap to explain things to the other people that do not understand.
yeah,
So this
yeah.
is where I'm going to take the question to Olu. Um, I mean, I'm not going to ask if you're a feminist or not. I don't think that is relevant. I just want to believe that you're a human being with humanity in you. So, what would you think the role of men would be in ensuring that a girl child is not set aside when the opportunity for education comes up?
Hmm.
Hmm.
I
Yeah, so
think
that's a deep question.
I think fathers and brothers and uncles and fathers, brothers, and uncles. Let me start from the family. Should do everything to ensure that, let's see, the girls in their lives, at least the ones that's formative ages, that every point in life they get enough education and opportunities, so that at every point in time in life they have what they call walk away power,
Hmm.
and they have leverage at whatever table they are sitting in, not because they are women, but because they bring the same value to the table as everybody else at the table. And when the compensation is not good enough, they're able to walk away, not because they're desperate or they need somebody to help them. So I think if fathers can see from that perspective, and I say the village elders, or the people, the gatekeepers to education, can see that, okay, this is the opportunity, and giving my daughter the opportunity that she can walk away from a bad relationship. She can navigate through life without having to wait upon somebody to be a benefactor. Antagonizing them or just telling them their cultures are bad or their cultures are stupid is never going to work. You have to find a way to shift their perspective without raising their defenses and without them feeling told that they are wrong or they're stupid for believing what they believe. Because, like in the movie, despite the society saying women should all be educated, the lead character, or Ekah's father, was open to his wife getting an education when she told him why she wanted an education. And he became hostile by this time. She started being condescending to him. She started looking down on him. So his hostility came from somewhere. To project it on his daughter may be wrong, but that's human nature. As in, once you've been beaten once or twice, you do everything in your life to avoid it. So he was not willing to lose his daughter to project on him that same level of condescension that he had received from his wife once she started getting an education. So I think shifting the paradigm of people in a way that is not combative, but shows them the benefits of why something should happen the way it should, why daughters or wives should get um, an education or the same level of education as the boys or the same opportunities as the sons and everybody else. Then they will know that this ideology I have of girls not getting educated should change. And these are the benefits of why they should change.
Okay. So I have an interesting question for Moji. And it's, I mean, I know you're passionate about girl child and women in general. Like you do a lot in that regard, right? So taking from what he has said regarding having this conversation and not in a hostile way, imagine you are talking to a group of men in a particular village who do not understand. I mean, it's easier to sort of have this conversation when we are on social media and we've got some level of woke people, and you can use some terms. So if you find yourself in that situation where you have to make people in the cadre of Ekah's father and the uncle understand the value of education, and also
Yeah.
maybe, for example, if they have experienced people who look at them in a condescending manner because they had a bit of an education, what would
Yeah.
you say to them? What method would you use or advise anyone to use to be able to bring them to the table for a better understanding?
Okay, so Elsie, thank you. That's a very interesting question. I think the one angle that I would go from is the angle of money. Of course, we saw that in this movie. What drove Lucas to do what he did in terms of convincing Ekah's father to marry her off was because he needed money. So I think that the angle that I will come from is the fact that giving their children, especially women, the education is at the very roots of poverty alleviation. When I look at the story, I see that the root of the problems that they had was poverty, and lack of education. Because look at Ekah's dad. Look at how easily it was manipulated by Lucas. This is a man that claimed to love his daughter and promised his daughter that he would never let her be in a situation. They showed us a scene where a woman was being maltreated by her husband, and he promised her that he would never let that be her. So I was just really upset about the whole thing, and I felt that if he had some form of education, regardless of how he saw education, of course the circumstances will have been different.
Okay. I'm not sure if that would entirely elevate these people from their mindset.
Yeah,
but looking at
I don't think it necessarily would, because even in modern society, where we are educated, where we are enlightened, where we are exposed to the Western culture and have BSCs and live in the city and only have lived in the city, you still see arguments where it's a
the woman
man
is supposed to be in the kitchen.
to do everything. I'm not meant to spend my money. So it might not necessarily change it completely, because even in the city, with people that are educated and have traveled the world and have lived abroad and come back, and you still hear some of them say, my husband should do everything, I'm not touching my salary.
Yeah.
So it might not necessarily change it. I think it's a very complicated
it is
conversation between social engineering, socialization, what they call social proof. Generally, most of the community believed that education was bad. Even the Ekah's friend, there was a scene where Ekah's friend, her mother, and another woman were talking about how education was bad for women.
Yeah, so I was going to come there.
Male thing necessarily. So
in terms of looking at it from alleviating us from poverty, now that conversation you mentioned in that movie, where the idea to them was that those who went to school are poor, and they that can at least understand how to be fishermen or roast the fish that are coming from the sea, are having opportunities to at least feed themselves, and they have money. And I think that takes me to thinking about education, not just in terms of education brick and mortar in the schools like we have, but also craftsmanship and helping people acquire skills and understand how to maximize their lifestyle with those skills. I mean, this is this conversation, I've had it over and over again for the past 2 years. I think I've had a lot of conversation on TV, on my blog, regarding skill acquisition and how to actually make us as a citizen not look down on people like that, and also give those people the training and education they need to all see themselves as important elements of society as well. If you're going to touch on skillmanship and the kind of education we have in Nigeria now, what would it be for you, Olu?
The interesting thing is, I tweeted something recently about it, and I've written about it. Basically, I think education we don't need any more private universities. I think what we need now is private trade schools, in the sense that you can go there, learn a trade, but also learn the business around that trade. Let's say somebody goes to a trade school for 3 years to learn everything there is to know about carpentry. But in addition to learning the physical aspects of carpentry, they could take them a course on bookkeeping, client management, advertising, business writing, all those things, all those other intellectual elements, in addition to the physical skill that the manual skills of carpentry or plumbing or electrical work and all that. So I think the factor in what they probably meant in the movie about the educated needing the fishers and the people to put them to feed them probably came from people go to school, they get an education, but now they start looking for a job. So the time they didn't learn fishing or whatever, they only have something in their head now, and they require a job to be given to them before they can be productive members of society. So that's I think that comes in where you're talking about skill and craft, and that probably needs to be where education is moving forward. Or in cases of people like in that kind of commune and society, maybe in addition to learning, in addition to their fishing skills, they also taught, okay, this is how you manage your money, this is how you plan for retirement, this is how you save, this is how you calculate for profit and loss. So it's not completely denying them of their ancestral line and ancestral skills and what comes natural to that community. So they don't necessarily have to leave that community, but teaching them additional skills that help them go beyond just fishing every day. And if I don't fish, we don't eat. If I don't fish, we're dead, kind of thing. So I think maybe education has to be organic to whatever society that community lives in, not necessarily a template that you just bring, okay, this is how we do things in the
Yeah.
city.
I
Come
think
and throw it
education in
into
Nigeria needs to be demystified. It's sounding, when we talk about it, we make it look like one. If it's not this way, it's not working. But there are so many other ways that the government need to also begin to look at, like you rightly mentioned. There's lots to talk about on the movie, but I'm thankful that this movie was produced. I'm thankful for the life of somebody like Malala. Like Moji said, she's just 24, and her life has impacted many in a way that is just simply amazing, right? So kudos to everyone involved in the project. So before I let you go, if you're going to rate the movie on a scale of 1 to 10, let me start with Moji. What would you give it and why?
I'll give it a 7, because I think that the storyline was a good one, because it sheds lights on a fundamental problem that is still being experienced. As a matter of fact, I was watching a TED talk recently that it was said that I think the Nigeria still has the highest rate of girls that are not in school. I think girls under
Yes.
13 that do not have
Mm-hmm.
an education, So I think that this is a very, very salient reminder of this issue that we still need to deal with. Like I was literally, when I was seeing the movie, I was thinking about the fact that there are actually people who cannot pick up a book and read it. Like it feels so basic and natural, and it's so heartbreaking and heart wrenching to know that there are people that do not even have access to something that we think is normal. So yes, for that alone, I think that the movie deserves a lot of kudos.
I think I'll give it like a 6.5. Overall, I liked it, but it sort of tapered off towards the last like 15-20 minutes, as if the budget ran out or something, or they hired a different team to shoot that last 15-20 minutes. Then I think they brought in the real person it's based on for the graduation, and her own acting sort of like just dropped from what the child version of her had been doing. So, and even the cuts between her and the audience, it felt like they borrowed stock footage from a university or something.
Yeah,
But
that's
like,
thank you for
True.
so
mentioning
it
that.
just
Yeah,
felt there was a disconnect. Even the
even
competition,
clap.
yeah. So that last 15-20 minutes sort of um decline the movie, and also the I don't know whether they intentionally did those things or they just decided maybe the movie was getting too long, so they needed to leave some things out of the edit, like the what happened to her after she was hung, and all of a sudden the next scene we see her on TV. So I don't know whether there was a rescue that they decided, okay, this film is getting too long, let's exercise this, or that was intentional completely to subvert our expectations, to expect her to be running to her dead body, and we find that she's on TV. So maybe that was intentional. But overall, I enjoyed it. I really like the ambition behind it. I like at least 97.5% of the execution. Just that last 15 minutes sort of didn't spoil the movie, but it felt like they dropped their own bar that they had set from the beginning of the film.
Thank you for watching. My name is Elsie Godwin. Please do subscribe to this channel by hitting the button below, and also hit the bell button so you get notified each time there is a new content. And if you're yet to see The Fisherman's Diary, head over to Netflix to see this amazing, spectacular content. It is beautiful and it was well executed. Shout out to the people in Cameroon. You guys did us proud. Really, really proud. Till another upload, please see a movie and be good.